Hello, everyone. Wednesday, it's 11 a.m. sharp. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone. So today's first question is from someone who feels their lower back when they are doing deadlifts.
Mhm.
What are your go-tos when, for instance, someone in your gym has that problem?
Well, obviously, we don't have those problems anymore. No, that's bullshit. Of course, it happens, but it's not because of deadlifting, but because of something else. So let's take a step back. So the first layer I want to peel off is sometimes it's really cool, and I've done this in the past a lot of times, is to get a different perspective in on stuff. Maybe it's not lower pain at deadlifting. Times it's something else, and we just have to see a different or a bigger picture. Let me tell you a short story. It's unfortunately not mine, but it's such a good story. I have it in the book also from Rory Sutherland. He's a marketing genius and a marketing guru, and he tells that story about changing your perspective, as in they banned smoking cigarettes at huge parties in England. He's from the island in the middle of somewhere. And he said that's very unfortunate. Not because he's a huge smoker, but there's but sometimes he just gets overwhelmed with talking to a lot of people, and he just wants to stand somewhere and just be on his own, like with his own thoughts and process stuff, etc. Um, and he said once they banned smoking at those parties, you look like a dumb ass antisocial person when you're just standing somewhere and staring out of the window. And the fun part of the story is once you smoke doing this, everybody thinks you're a fucking philosopher. And I think it's a brilliant thing to change your perspective from time to time and be like, this is not about fixing lower back and the deadlift. This is about maybe something else. So let's jump into it. Um, let's discuss two layers of it. The first one is your spine, and the second one is your pelvis or your hips. All right. Those two things are literally connected with each other, right? So the lumbar spine is connected with your SI joint slash pelvis. This is basically all the same. So whenever your pelvis tilts under load, whether that's to the front or to the back, your lower spine will move, period. There's no way around it. No matter how much you train, how strong you are, this is what's going to happen. All right. That's why we have such an emphasis on the neutral pelvis. All right. So what does that mean? This is not something that can be or that should be technically fixed in a deadlift or fixed with assistance work because your lower back is not strong enough or your glutes are not strong enough, whatever. For me, as always, this is a lack of skill. So that means we can learn something or we have to learn something, and we're just not as evolved in that skill as we thought we are. So what is the skill? The skill of position plus the skill of tension. Skill of position is super simple. Got to keep your neutral hips. Means not tilting to the front or the back once you're under load. And this is exactly what happens with most people when they deadlift. Again, this is not the fault of the person deadlifting, and this is not the fault of the deadlift itself. It's our fault, whoever hands out those exercises, because it's a really fucking hard exercise to do correctly. Most people advertise it with strengthening the backside, hamstrings, glutes, whatever. From my experience, 99% of people will feel anything but hamstrings and glutes. They feel quads, they feel lower back, they feel upper back, something else, but not the designated muscles. All right. The next layer is what to do next. So change of perspective is not making your deadlift technique more sound or strengthening assistance muscles who should help you in a deadlift. The thing is that you need to fix is you have to learn to keep a neutral pelvis under load. And just reality that the deadlift is a very tough exercise for most people. But when you train twice a week or three times a week, it just takes a very long time, years, until you can bridge the gap between intensity and volume. So that means doing a lot of deadlifts, creating the right tension, getting in the right position, and having the outcome desired. That means strengthening your backside. Cool. What's an alternative view? What's a different perspective? If we have to learn how to keep your neutral pelvis under load and swiveling with it, so that means bringing the hips forward, literally using the glutes, I would always start with something like the chains or rope pull, right? Because you can obey to my hip rules, which are going to prevent lower back pain, which are, okay, you have to keep your knees over your ankles. You have to get in a wide stance, and you have to keep your pelvis neutral. It's just easier to do that and practice that in a chains and rope pull than it is with the deadlift. That doesn't mean that deadlift's not going to come at some point of your training journey. No, absolutely. That is absolutely our goal to get there. Is it necessary? No, it's not. But if you would like to do it, we'll work towards it. But for sure, we're not going to start with it, right? I have not mentioned the equipment layer, which is it's very hard to move a barbell where there's a lot of weight on the outside and you have to create more tension towards the inside. But that's for another day. The second one is the spine. The misconception about how a spine should look under load. Very simply speaking, spine and pelvis is connected. Whenever your pelvis tilts, this has a function. This is not a mistake, or this is not a woo-woo no-no to avoid. This is something that's supernatural. But this can only happen under load. That means for jumping, sprinting, for dancing, doing BJJ, ballet, tennis, soccer, running, hiking. I don't care if your spine moves or if your hip tilts. I could not care less, right? This is what's as necessary for us human beings as it is to train a neutral hip and your fucking spine not moving under load, right? You need both. Quick example. So when your hip tilts forward, that means like the stripper pose, overarching, however you want to call it, that's the perfect position to be in to jump because that allows your quads to fire. This literally kills your hamstrings and your glutes. You don't need your hamstrings and glutes for jumping high. This literally kills your obliques. You don't need your obliques to jump high. This activates or makes it easier for your six pack to fire, right? To express power vertically or horizontally. This has a function. This is not a mistake. And in the same breath, I'm going to tell you, this is not what we want to practice doing heavy squats or heavy deadlifts or whatever is doing heavy. So there's a difference between, yes, your hips should move and no, your hips should not move at all. In the book, the singular, in the book, I describe it as the ape shape. So when we think about a healthy spine position, most people think about that, what do you want to call it, S curve, double C curve, the stuff you see in books, how a spine is supposed to look like. And that's fine if you do unloaded movements. Again, in lifting, this is the wrongest you could think of, right? So whenever we see strength training and people, coaches, whoever, adjusting to the double C shape in the deadlift starting position, whatever, getting your chest up or doing something where you can imitate the double C shape, you're going to set up your body for failure. This is not what it's supposed to be. The lower spine should look like, I call it the ape shape, however you want to call it. The ape shape is nothing else as keeping a neutral hip, and this is going to align your spine without thinking about it. You can try this right now and stand up, straighten out your feet, get your glutes on. This is a neutral hip. And now, without releasing your glutes, try to bend backwards and forward. There's very little room for movement, and there's zero movement happening in your lower spine. The only thing we have to do now is practice this concept in strength training, right? Those are my thoughts about lower back pain and deadlift. It is not to fix in a deadlift. You have to change your perspective and be like, okay, this is just an exercise, but we're not about exercise. We're about solving problems. If you want to solve your lower back problem, there's templates out there from us where you can start working what your body really needs, which is a neutral pelvis under load with an ape-shaped spine. Fucking long ass answer.
And what is your answer if someone maybe we are conditioned, but what if as a coach listening to this, my head jumps to stuff like obliques or creating more tension in the obliques. Um, am I wrong when I'm thinking to towards that
No,
direction or
no, that's a cool thing, man. I've done this wrong for 10, 15 years. I've ruined my lower back. I've had herniated disc, L5S1. Um, I'm not saying this from a cocky place of this is how you should do it. No, I've done it wrong or differently too, and I couldn't find answers doing the regular stuff that's mainstream opinion, mainstream whatever. And at some point, I got so frustrated about it that I literally did the opposite. The opposite of what everybody else was saying. I did the opposite, and who knows why, but it worked. And now I know why it works. And this is all I want to bring out there is okay, I found something that I think is worth shooting towards, and let's fucking chase this. And it's the opposite of what everybody else is doing. I forgot the question, but I'm going to talk about pain for a second. Because you talked about lower back pain. I think we talked about this last time a little bit, but I think lower back pain is yes, there's maybe a structural issue with the lower back, your disc, your spine, whatever. But I think it's the first signal of your body telling you, okay, there's a there's a difference in between how I want to be used in movement and how you are actually using me. I think this is more of an intensity signal rather than there's a structural damage and then there's pain and now we got to fix the structural damage and then the pain's going to go away. Right? I think there's just that's a better way of looking at it because it also provides it with an active approach. Like you can do stuff that will reduce your pain and you get stronger and more mobile and more sexy at the same time. And it's not reducing the intensity to zero, doing some corrective exercises, feeling better, the signal lowers, obviously, because the stress gets lower. But as soon as you want to up the ante and run faster, run more, lift more weights, same problems occur. This is the definition of insanity from a guy called Einstein, which said, or who said, if you keep doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results, you're insane.
But then again, intensity, pain kind of like as a symbol of intensity. But what is your answer if there is someone who's like, okay, sounds good, but what does that practically mean? Because I think that we are talking about this now a bit like from an kind of like from a tower, kind of like in sitting here.
Ivory tower
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah, kind of, yeah. Because I think that you and me, we might know what we mean, but what does that mean to a normal person training? Like, where's like the line between like discomfort, intensity, and like injury?
I got it. You're saying, Greg, be fucking more practical. I get it. And that makes sense because that's how I figured it out. That's how I dug deeper and found something. Super simple. Do the truck. Tremendous trunk template. Do the hip templates. What's in there? What did I do? So I started with doing more carries because that's the easiest way how to practice your neutral pelvis under load, right? You have to grip stuff, so that's already great for your upper body. You have to walk on 2 feet, so that the unilateral, blah, 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 blah. You have to learn how to stabilize your hips without doing unloaded glute bridges. You just carry stuff until you can't anymore and focus on keeping your glutes on. Super simple. Whatever exercise you're doing, this could be a farmer carry, a semper carry, a front rack carry, anything you want. Your only job is to make sure you can squeeze your booty for as long as possible. This is not going to be perfect in the first session, especially if you have lower back pain. That's totally fine, but you have to give your body practical stuff, actions, a carry with squeezed glutes to prove it. Hey, dude, you can reduce the signal now because I got you. I understand what you want from it, right? You can do sushi sticks. You can do, depending on the discomfort level of your lower back. You can do, um, um, help me out here. Toe taps. You can do. There's 1,000 different exercises out there, and hey, I'm practical. I've named 8, so that's okay. The only purpose of all of those exercises is to keep your glutes squeezed if you're either walking or moving or doing something else, no matter the exercise. This is the first step. I remembered your question about the obliques now, which is, yes, you'll need your obliques, but let's put things into order. If you cannot control your glute max, your obliques don't matter. Mm-hmm. So yes, you can obviously do like a pharma carry and sushi sticks afterwards. That's totally fine. If you're limited in time, just focus on your glute max. If you have more time, add some oblique work. And here's why. If your glute max cannot stabilize your neutral pelvis, that means your pelvis is going to tilt. That's going to change the game. That makes it very hard for obliques to do the right job, because once you displace bones, that means muscles are going to be dragged into bar fights and they can't do their job anymore. This is just not the position they want to be in. Let's correct me right away. That's not their optimal position. Muscles always work to a certain extent, right? But it's not the most fundamental basic position they want to be in, so they can do their job best. My perfect example is if you ask the finance department in a big company to do a marketing campaign and vice versa. Yes, there's stuff that's going to happen. Like the marketing campaign from the finance department is going to be fucking boring. And if the marketing department does the finances, it's going to be a huge fucking, right? Numbers everywhere and creative Excel sheets and whatever. You get the point. There's still something happening, but this is not the designed and required job they're meant to do. Same for your muscles. Mm-hmm. Glute max first. If you can stabilize your pelvis, a lot of other muscles are set up to do their jobs properly.
Okay.
I really like that answer. I shouldn't say this on camera, but that's actually a pretty good answer.
No, that's a safe space here. You can say it.
I don't give a fuck about safe spaces.